Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A special edition of Outtakes tonight. A lot of times, independent filmmakers will make short films, and then those short films catch the eye of important people, and they're transformed into full-length feature films. And that's part of the backstory tonight, as we have special guest director Jesse Hutchins and star Brian Saponis in the studio with us. A cinematic class is about to begin, and your professor is in. Greetings, salutations, another sundry affair. I am your cinematic professor and purveyor of truth in movies. And tonight, please help me welcome Jesse Hutchins, who is the director of most of the movies we're going to talk about tonight. And welcome back to the show, Brian Saponis. And gentlemen, nice to have you back here. I had said in the beginning about short films that are turned into feature-length films. And Jesse, I believe that's happening with one of your films called A Quiet Town. Tell us a little bit about how the short film came out and how the process is going into making it a feature-length movie.
Yeah, so the original idea for this film was a feature, and it started 10 years ago. And over these 10 years, I've been battling with the story and the plot and trying to make everything kind of click together. We talked to somebody, I think it was last year, and they suggested we turn it into a short as a proof of concept so that we can get funding and everything else we needed for the feature film. So here we are. We have a script ready to go. I just rewrote it. Kind of expanded from the original feature script, but we're ready to go once we get the funding for it.
Okay, now, did I watch a snippet of the feature film, or did I watch like a Reader's Digest version of the feature film?
It was pretty much a snippet.
I see.
Yes.
I see. So we're going to flesh out these characters a lot more, I guess, and the storyline and why Zeke is so damn impulsive about things. And when we talk about Zeke, we have to turn to Brian. Brian, last time we had you on the show, you were an 8-foot werewolf, and you were tearing people apart. Zeke doesn't do that, although his temperament is a little bit similar. What attracted you to this role from being a werewolf?
Well, yeah, he is not a werewolf, but the funny thing about Zeke is, yeah, he's a bad guy. He thinks he's kind of the big dog crime boss in small town PA. But the thing Jesse and I talked about a lot, and this is one of the things we wanted to flesh out in the feature, is he's got a lot more levels to him than just, okay, I want to go out and sling some dope and make money on that and stuff. He's has his family. Basically, what's left of his family is him and his two brothers, and they're pretty much everything to him because that's all he has left. His parents are dead, and he doesn't really have anything other than his two brothers. So he is kind of the protectorate over them, and his decisions that he makes in life are geared towards making sure that him and his brothers are okay, and everything that they're doing is geared towards making sure that they're successful, that they have everything they need, and going forward. So when things don't always work out the way that Zeke wants them to, you start to see how important his brothers are to him, and which makes him ultimately make probably bad decisions because he's pushing too hard to make sure that his brother's okay, and things don't always work out that way. So I think just having those levels to him and not just being that one-dimensional bad guy, like, well, I just want to go out and shoot people and get what I want, but he's got levels to him.
Jesse, where are we on the production so far for making this a feature film? Where are you? Do you have any kind of timeline as to when this might be done or released?
So we're roughly looking at fall, September, to start shooting this. So we have from now until then to secure funding, get everything in place, like our actors and the crew, and then just go to work.
I'd imagine you're involved in this a lot since you were in the rough draft.
Yeah, it's a process.
And you're involved in an awful lot of movies that Jesse has done, and the tie for that goes back to Red Slate Films.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned very slightly last time you were on the show about Red Slate Films, but this thing, since the last time you were here, Brian, Red Slate Films is really, there's a lot of stuff on there now that it seems to be doing a whole lot more. So what's going on with Red Slate Films? How immersed are the two of you into this thing? What do you got coming out? A lot of questions there.
There's a lot to unpack there. You want to start?
So me and Brian, we met initially in 2018. We worked on a Pittsburgh 48-hour film project together, and we kind of just meshed really well. I saw the passion in him, and likewise. So we were just continued to work, and one day we're like, let's just start our own company. Because I always want to write and direct, and he always wants to act, so perfect combination. So we created Red Slate in 2019, and then we've just been working ever since.
2019 is kind of when Red Slate officially started, and one of the things that he kind of not glossed over, but when you're both an actor and a director, you got so many variables outside of you that you're trying to work through to get yourself work, jobs, films. So one of the things to think, well, why don't we just start our own company, make our own films the way we want to make them, tell the stories we want to tell, and showcase our skills, him as a director and cinematographer, me as an actor, and that's kind of also where it all started. But since then, the whole thing that started it off, I guess, was our film called Done Waiting. Back in 2019, a 14.5-minute short that we did. And we had another short that we had done for a 48 that got into a film festival out in Los Angeles. So lo and behold, Jesse and I were like, let's take a trip out to LA and go see the film. So we got to LA, see the film, and while we were there was this other film that was just caught our attention because it was about this guy that was a terrorist, and he was going to do this bad thing. He ends up driving a van through a farmer's market and killing a bunch of people. Well, at the end, it turns out he's trying to call his wife and kids. Well, it turns out they were at the farmer's market. He ended up running them over and killing his own family. Well, the thing that kind of caught our eye was the way they shot the whole idea of him going through the farmer's market. They did it from inside the van. They had a camera low, and they just had it on the guy driving. And you didn't see anything but just how he was reacting to it. And it was so engaging, like, oh my God, that was just awesome. So we said, why don't we just go home, throw together some, we didn't have a script, we just didn't have an idea. We were just like, let's just play with the camera and see if we can do something similar to that where we can engage the audience and do that. And then all of a sudden we started writing a script, and then next thing you know, Done Waiting was born out of that, and that kind of kicked off everything from that. And then we jumped in. I think we have, 12 or 14 films that we've done since then. And then now with The Quiet Town, we have other longer shorts. I don't want to necessarily say they're features. They're about an hour long. This is our first delve into, like, okay, we're going to do a proper feature for Red Slate. This is going to be kind of our, hey, here's Red Slate Films to the world.
Did you guys get a distributor yet, or anything
No,
like that?
that's
That's going to be a big step.
That's going to be a big step.
Let's leave A Quiet Place for a little bit. I want to go to A Strange Desire of yours. And according, again, to early interviews, you always had a hankering, if you will, to do a Civil War film. And you finally got that chance. Why don't you tell us about War Between the States?
Yeah, so I kind of just challenged myself with the script. When I started writing, I didn't know how we were going to make it. But I wrote it anyway, and it took a couple months to finally get it all where I needed it to be.
What would you use for inspiration for that? Anything?
Just my love for the Civil War.
Really?
Yeah. I love history, so we've got a few period pieces in our catalog, and I got another one written that I would like to shoot later on in a couple years or so. But so we wrote the script, and we had a discussion about it. We both were in agreement, so we're like, we don't know how we're going to make this. Well, a couple years ago, we had a table read for the feature of The Quiet Town, and we had just happened to meet somebody. Well, he did a photo shoot in Gettysburg on a Segway dressed in Union uniform. So I said to him, I was like, hey, are you part of a reenactment group, or do you know anybody? He goes, well, actually. So then he got me connected with a guy who lives out by Gettysburg. And his whole thing is the reenactments. He knows all his stuff. he has all these costumes because he also runs a tintype photo salon or whatever it's called. So I got it and talking with him. I told him what I wanted to do. I said, is there any way we can like come in with the ranks? I said, you can dress us up just so I can get the footage. And he goes, yeah, we've done this before. And I go, well, how much would it cost? And he goes, nothing. I was like, okay, cool. So then he said he had to run it up the ladder, see if we can get the green light, and which we did. And then we picked up on July 1st?
Yeah.
July 1st, we drove to Gettysburg, met with those guys, got in wardrobe, and we went out. We just shot everything that we could within that 2-hour time frame that they gave us.
Now, what kind of crew are you looking at here?
So that was 4 of us. I knew I'd need 4 or 5. And we sat, me and Brian were on the Union side, Nick was in with the Confederates, and then we had another guy on a wide. Well, I couldn't use any of the wide because there's speakers set up all over the field, and that ruined everything. But yeah, there's 4 of us, so we were all dressed in uniform, burlap sacks over the cameras, and we just shot as much as we could. And then we brought it back at the end of that month, and we finished it out. And he drove out with costumes, and we flew an actor in from L.A. to come in for a role, and we had a Civil War film.
I think it's safe to say you didn't concentrate so much on the war as you did about particularly these 2, you could stretch it and say 3 individuals involved in the story. What was your goal in approaching the war in that fashion?
I wanted to take a different approach than your typical war film, which is we're going in and we're fighting and, you know, all this patriotic stuff that they show and tell. I wanted to see the more human aspects of it, because it still blows my mind that people signed up knowing like you're going to fight against your brother or your family and things like that, and they still went and joined and standing on the front lines in a line with guns pointing at each other, and they just fire back and forth. You know, at the time, they're like, yeah, if we want to do that, we believe in the cause, but I don't understand why they would do that. But like I said, I wanted to peel it back a little bit and go more on the characters and the human aspect of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out. And then like his character approaches the Confederate. They have a back and forth, and then the story moves on.
Brian, do you think your character had a bigger impact because he was a Union soldier? If you had reversed those, do you think the movie might have been less impactful?
Well, that's a really interesting question. Yeah, I think because he was with the North, I think his character had that impact that it needed. I don't think it would have sold as well if he was from the South, especially considering that it was playing in Gettysburg. Not to say, I mean, that was a massive battle, obviously, in the war with both sides. But I think just because it takes place in the northern state of Pennsylvania, I think having that character be part of the North Army made a lot more impact on that role. And it's funny because I know when Jesse first talked about wanting to do a Civil War film, it's like anything. If you're going to do a period piece like that, you need to do it right. You can't cheat on the costumes. You can't cheat on the locations. You can't cheat on anything because
they'll call you out on it.
They'll call you out. And we watched, it's funny because in kind of researching things, we watched a couple other Civil War films that did that, kind of cut the corners and cheated a little bit, and you are just not in the story at all. And that's why one of the things he said, if you're going to do it authentic, and all I saw was dollar signs. I'm like, oh my God, if we're going to do this, there's a bank down the street I can go rob. I don't know where we're going to get the money to do that. But then, like you said, the opportunity that we kind of fell into, you just could not, not take advantage of that, because it was just everything to our pendants was authentic and period.
So all those guys that were there for the reenactment, they didn't have any problem with you guys shooting or anything? They were just
They weren't even
glad to
paying
be
attention to us.
Is that right?
Well, like you said, we were in our gear and we had the cameras in burlap sacks, so you couldn't even see the cameras. So we were just kind of hanging out in the back, and they'd do their thing, go out and do their battle, and we're just kind of on the side or sneaking in to they'd they didn't even pay attention to us. We just had to kind of watch out for the horses because we could have gotten run over by a horse if they
Sure.
weren't really. But other than that, no, they didn't pay us any mind.
So is the desire to do a Civil War movie, is it out of your system right now, or are you hoping maybe to make this into a full-length feature too?
I would like to do a full-length feature. We actually sat down to try to hash out some ideas, and it was a little tougher.
Mm-hmm.
And we were going to really, if we're doing this, we're going to really do the research, make sure it's right, like you said, the authenticity of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll go from there. But like I said, I like period pieces, and I wrote a World War II one, hoping to do the kind of the same thing, all in line with some reenactors, and get all that footage. Hopefully we can control it, unlike the Civil War. We couldn't control any of that battle stuff, so.
Gotcha. Hey, there's a whole lot more as I talk with Jesse Hutchins and Brian Saponis when Outtakes with Rick's Reel continues right after this. You know, there are a lot of celebrities who branch off and go into businesses as a way of supplementing their careers once their stardom has begun to fade. Michael Knowles has done this. He is probably one of the nation's premier conservative talk radio hosts, and he's also started his own cigar company. And through a series of events, his cigars, Mayflower, are at House of Fairuza Barbershop and Cigar Lounge, located at the corner of South Park Road and Drake Road. When these things came and Sam got them down there, naturally I tried them out. Folks, I have to tell you, I had some favorite cigars before. These Mayflower cigars knock them right off of the shelf. There's two types. There's a Dawn, which is very, very light, and it's exceptionally good for those who might be starting out cigar smoking for the first time. Then there's Dusk, and this one's a little bit heavier, but very, very flavorful. They have fast become my favorite smoking choices, and if you go down there and see Sam and he hooks you up with them, I think they'll become yours as well. They're very hard to get in Pittsburgh, but House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge always has a cache for you. The House of Fairuza Cigar Lounge and Barbershop, located at the corner of Drake Road and South Park Road. Stop in and see Sam today. And welcome back to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting here with director Jesse Hutchins and movie star Brian Saponis. I guess I should say actor. That would be more
That's more appropriate.
politically correct, I guess. He's an actor, Brian Saponis. And we're talking about their short film called A Quiet Town, which is being transformed into a feature-length film. And I still say probably financing this thing is got to be a hemorrhoid, to say the least. I guess you're doing the Kickstarter and GoFundMe stuff and that. You're looking for private investors as well?
I think we're going to start with private, and then we'll go into like Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Do you have like an idea or a concept of people involved in the arts that would, that are kind of open to your idea, or are you starting this cold turkey?
Pretty much cold turkey.
Ooh.
Well, we have a couple leads. I wouldn't say it's full. It's like a warm walking turkey, I guess, if you will. So it's not quite cold.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one. I know that's going to be a tough one too. Just before we took break, you dropped rather nonchalantly. We were talking about your Civil War movie, and you dropped rather nonchalantly about you wrote a film about World War II. And while the cameras were off and we were running the House of Fairuza spot, Brian happened to mention that he is big into World War II. So maybe at this time we should bring that up. And I would imagine you're both involved in the World War II project. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about your role first?
You want to give a little synopsis of the story, just high level first, and then we'll kind of get into the characters?
Yeah, so the story is about this kid. It it picks up a week after the Pearl Harbor bombing,
Mm.
where everybody was signing up, and that's when the patriotic moment was happening.
Yep.
So then he wants to go fight, and he goes over there, and everybody's warning him not to do this, that they fought the Germans, and it's not what you think it is. And he's like, I'm doing this anyway. Then we move it over into Germany, and we have some characters and things happening. Again, it's peeling back on that human story of the war and things like that. Because, like I said, we like to showcase.
No, you're not going to go to Germany and film this, are you?
No, we're hoping to do it within a 2-hour radius of Pittsburgh.
Ah.
Because I guess the woods around here are pretty similar to a patch of woods in Germany. So that's where the story is set at.
Okay, and when you do this, this is going to be a short story
It's
or
a short, yeah.
another short?
Yeah, it'll be our last short for Red Slate.
Yeah. What do you mean your last short?
So after the World War II movie, then we're going to be focusing more on feature films.
Ah, so this is the end of an era coming
Yeah,
up.
we want to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
So
Oh, all right. You want to tell us about your character now? Obviously, you're not the little kid.
No, I'm not the little kid. I'm one of the older officers.
That'd be a hell of a makeup job.
Yeah, try and pull off.
Or just pull off
pull
like
off
the
18.
Irishman.
There you
I
go.
can't pull off 18, but yeah, just one of the. It's not. My role's not one of the main roles because it's more centered around the younger. And I don't want to say kids, but I mean, they're younger. It's centered around them, and again, it's kind of similar in vein to the Civil War film, where it's not necessarily about the war; it's about the
About the
stories,
people in it.
yeah, and the people within the war.
What's your big fascination with World War II?
I don't know. It's just you had such. I mean, the whole you had the whole world embroiled. I mean, with the Axis power and the Allies, and so many casualties and people dead and killed for that war. But just the clash of civilizations, I guess, if you will. And you had Germany trying to basically take over the world, and everybody else obviously trying to stop them. It was just kind of the true clash of like good versus evil, I guess, in a sense. But just how it came to be, I think the whole history of how it got to that point is sometimes more fascinating than the war itself, because you had all the geopolitical things going on, and Germany, what they were doing with the rise of Nazism and things like that. Just to see that progression, and then where it ultimately culminates, with the invasion of Poland and how the world just exploded. And then you had, all the men were fighting, and the women were back home, making everything and supporting the war effort and doing whatever they could. And everybody here it was just a full effort to support that cause. But I think just having the whole world embroiled in something like that. I mean, obviously World War I is of the same ilk as World War II, but it's more recent. And you had the technology. Germany was on the verge of all these technological breakthroughs that kind of came through too late. That had they come earlier in the war, who knows what would have happened if they had gotten some of the technology like the jet and the V-2 rocket and things of that nature that they had developed later on in the war. But it's just a fascinating war. It really is.
Back to an earlier interview, you told someone that your favorite movie was Armageddon.
Oh.
Is your favorite movie still Armageddon?
No, it's The Shining.
Ah, so we have
Yeah.
changed.
But I still love Armageddon.
Okay, so why, and then why the switch?
So Armageddon was the film that kind of gave me the bug, because everything that was going on, I wanted to be the guy that knew how to do that. But The Shining I watched later on in life, when I was 22 or 23, and there was a whole psychological thing within that story that really drew me to it. And the way that Jack Nicholson plays his character, and it's just the downfall of his psyche, it just became one of my films, and I will stand and die on that hill for the rest, until I die.
For now.
Until the day I die.
I think that one's set. That one is
Now,
pretty well
Brian, let's go to you and say, are you still at the stage where if a role is offered, you have to take it? Or have you gotten to the point now where there are certain roles that you just want to gravitate toward?
I don't know if necessarily a role per se. I think it has to do more with the film in general. I am at the point where I say no to things now. I'm not just taking anything just to do it. But yes, depending on how the character is, depending on how the script is, depending on how the story is. Also, not only that, but depending on how the crew around that film, who's shooting it, what are you shooting it on? I mean, there's so many things, because you know, if you're going to do a film, I don't want to just do a film just for the sake of doing a film. You need to be able to show this film and be proud of it and say that, hey, for example, I want to put this on my reel. Well, sometimes you do films, you're like, I wouldn't show that to my dog, let alone put that on my reel. So, you know, I'm a lot more selective now in terms of what I do from roles, just for my own sake, in terms of what am I getting out of it as an actor. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I don't want to just say yes to everything. So I need to know, give me some information about the film. What are you doing with it? Even if you're not necessarily doing anything like big with it, but how are you shooting it? What's the story about? What kind of characters is it? What is my character, you know, what's he all about? So there's a lot more that goes into it, but I definitely am saying no a lot more these days.
All right, let's bring this around full circle and get back to A Quiet Town. As the show is airing, it's February, March. Jesse, if someone is watching this and they say, you know, I'd like to be involved in that somehow, and perhaps they want to maybe make a financial contribution to the funding of the film, is there a website or someplace where they can go to do that?
We have a website. It's redslatefilms.com.
Okay.
You can also send us an email at redslatefilms1@gmail.com, and we'll have the talk.
I would really like to thank Brian Saponis and Jesse Hutchins for stopping by on today's show. As I say, this show is airing in February and parts of March. In the fall, the movie will be filming. Outtakes will very hopefully keep you abreast of what's going on, and who knows, maybe we can even do a show from the set or something. That might be a lot of fun. And we'll keep you abreast on the movie and how it's going, and if there are any premieres, certainly we'll run that as well. Are you looking for people to be involved in the movie at all? Are you looking for a technical crew or actors or anything like that?
We probably will be looking for technical. Our actors, we got them pretty locked in. There's a couple of big names that we're going to be reaching out to and see if we can get that.
Can you mention them now, or is it too early?
It's too early. So hopefully it all works out in our favor.
And if we do any roles, we'll post roles that we're looking for too. We'll post them on Facebook, maybe Actors Access, depending on
Great.
what we're looking for. Yeah, we want it because we like to cast a wide net.
So you can go on the website now, Red Slate Films. You can see the rough cut of Quiet Town and then realize that's going to be a full-length movie and take it from there. Again, Jesse, Brian, thanks a lot for stopping by. That's going to wrap us up for tonight. So now that you have learned what you have learned, here endeth your lesson.